The committee will come to order. Good morning. We appreciate everybody being here. Cybersecurity has been one of this committee's top priorities. We've held numerous hearings and worked on meaningful legislation to ensure small businesses have every possible resource to protect themselves against a cyber attack. And I'd now like to introduce our distinguished panel. Our first witness is Robert Luft, the owner and president of Surefire Innovations, a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business and minority business enterprise located in my home district of Cincinnati, Ohio. And Mr. Luft and I actually talked about this a long time ago, and he brought this to my attention, and I think that actually was how this hearing came into being here. So don't screw it up, because you're the one that did it. So Surefire Innovations specializes in providing network infrastructure services to companies all across the country. Prior to starting his company, Mr. Luft served our country for 16 years in the Army as a combat engineer. He's testifying on behalf of the National Small Business Association. We thank him for his service to our country, and we also welcome him here today.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Chabot, Ranking Member Velasquez, and members of the House Small Business Committee for inviting me to testify today on the current state of cybersecurity for small companies and how cyber insurance can help small business transfer risk. My name is Robert Luft, and I'm the owner of Surefire Innovations located in Cincinnati, Ohio. I am pleased to be here representing the National Small Business Association, where I currently serve on the Leadership Council and the Technology Council. Surefire Innovations is a certified service-disabled, veteran-owned small business and minority business enterprise, specializing in network infrastructure, design and installation of hardwired, wireless, security, and smart city networks. After my military service in the Army, where I had the honor to serve on multiple combat deployments to Iraq during my 16-year career, I decided that entrepreneurship was my path, and hence the founding of Surefire Innovation. Cybercrime is growing rapidly, with annual costs to the global economy estimated to reach over $2 trillion by 2019. Organizations of all sizes are at risk for cyber attacks. Small business represents more than 97% of business in the U.S. Alarmingly, in 2015, 43% of all attacks were directed at small business. Despite the growing awareness of cyber-related crimes, 77% of small business owners believe their company is not at risk for cyber attacks. The risk of being a target for cybercrime is high. 42% of small business surveyed by the National Small Business Association reported being a victim of a cyber attack, with the average cost being $32,000 when business banking accounts were hacked and $7,000 on average for small business overall. So, what can we do as small business to address this issue? We can start with what I learned in the Army. Keep it simple. By utilizing the SBA's top 10 cybersecurity tips, this will provide a framework for all small business, even those who are not technologically savvy and currently have zero protections in place. Simple measures like installing antivirus software, the use of complex passwords, and backing up information. Since total elimination of threats is impossible, protecting against them should be a top management priority. Unfortunately, many small businesses do not place cyber threat as a top priority. This is evident by the fact that 60% of small companies go out of business within 6 months after a cyber attack. Small business need not only think of ways to mitigate cyber attacks, but also how to transfer that risk away from their company. This can be accomplished with the cyber liability insurance policy, which provides coverage in the event of a cyber attack. A typical cyber liability policy will include the following coverages: theft and fraud, forensic investigation, network business interruption, extortion, and data loss. What led to my purchase of a cyber liability policy is a subcontractor was performing services on one of my projects, suffered a bank account breach that resulted in the loss of $15,000. This was a catastrophic event. Those funds were required for payroll and put enormous strain on its employees. This event made me realize that our company was just as vulnerable, and despite having a cybersecurity plan, we did not have a cyber liability insurance policy. So in the event we were breached, we would not have any financial protections available. Unfortunately, we were not the exception, as 75% of small business do not have cyber liability coverage in place. Most small business do not have the appetite to purchase another insurance policy. My annual premium is $3,200. The level of security this provides my company does not completely remove all of my concerns, but it affords me the knowledge that if we were hacked, protective steps have been taken to address any potential damages to the company and my employees. There are enormous amounts of resources available to help educate small business on cybersecurity and the potential ramifications of not having the appropriate plan and policies in place. The issue is awareness. The more we can help inform small business on how to mitigate and transfer these risks, the greater the positive impact small business will have on our economy. Thank you for the opportunity to address this very pressing issue.
Thank you. And I'll yield myself 5 minutes. And Mr. Luft, I'll go to you first. Could you tell us what process that you went through in determining what cyber insurance coverage that you ultimately ended up with? And are there any recommendations that you would make to other small businesses who might be considering, first of all, whether or not they should get insurance coverage, and then secondly, who they should get it from? I'm not saying what company, but just the kind of process.
Well, it was my first assumption that cyber insurance should just be as simple as any type of insurance. So I reached out to my existing insurance provider. What I quickly found out is that's not the case. He was not familiar with a lot of policies. So once I saw some hesitancy on his end, I sought some additional resources and found an agent that was exclusive to cyber insurance. That would be my first suggestion to any small business. And one of the first things that a company needs to look for when they're looking at that, there's some standard coverages in there, the extortion coverage, data losses. So the company could assume that those things are going to be included in the policy. But one thing that they need to ask for is retroactivity. When you first initially buy that policy, it's going to become effective that inception date. But anything that may have happened previously, it would behoove that small business to ask for maybe a year of retroactivity, just in case there is something lurking there in their network to ensure that they are safe.
Thank you very much. I'm going to throw this question open. It's kind of maybe an impossible question, so either one of you want to handle this. If a business has X amount of insurance where they're covering fire and a whole range of things, and now they've got to consider cybersecurity insurance, and let's say they're going to go with the insurance company they have now, how much more typically could they expect to pay for this that they're not paying without it right now? Percentage-wise, are we talking an additional 10%, 25%? And I know that's a tough question. It would depend on how big the company is. What would your estimate be if you have one? I guess that would be probably more. So if, let's say you went with the company that you have now and they did have the expertise, unlike what Mr. Luft had said he experienced. I mean, ballpark, what range are we probably talking about? Not either one of you want to venture this. Mr. Luft, you're from Cincinnati. I expect you to give me an answer. What do you think?
Chairman, I could talk specific about what's happening with my company. And so for my liability policy covering our installation, for $1 million policy, that's about $4,000. When I bought that standalone cyber insurance policy, that was $3,200, so roughly about 80%.
Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My time has expired. I apologize for going a little bit over.
Mr. Luft, in your testimony, you point out that small businesses often don't perceive themselves as being targets for cyber attacks. What can we do to educate the general public on the risks of not being protected, and what can we do to ensure that they have a place to go after a cyber attack takes place? As it stands now, where do they go?
Well, I would say the first step is the small business needs to understand that there is extreme risk out there, and they need to look no further than the television. There's plenty of reports about what's happening to major corporations, to small business on a daily basis. So my first suggestion, small business needs to take that initiative. From an education standpoint from this body, I do know from the federal resources, from the SBA being, especially within Cincinnati, they do a tremendous job of having events informing small business about cybersecurity and actions they need to take place. So I would think more what needs to happen is the initiative from the small business to take action.
And probably partnering with some chambers of commerce.
Absolutely,
and things
yes.
of that nature. And thank you very much again for your testimony here today, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
My second question is actually for all of you. What do you think are the biggest risks for cybersecurity insurance providers that do not exist in other insurance markets? Mr. Luft?
Your question was specific to the cyber insurance companies?
Insurance providers, yes.
In speaking about the small business, the reason why they need to think about that, as the statistic has been mentioned several times today, that after a cyber attack, 60% of small business is out of business within 6 months. I think that's the greatest call for action from a small business perspective.
I was absolutely shocked at how untrained law enforcement was on how to handle this situation, because we lost value. We lost value. Two questions concerning that for the entire panel. A, has that changed? Is law enforcement in general across the country better trained now to handle the theft of a company's information via cyber attack? And B, what can Congress do, or what can government do, assuming we're not where law enforcement needs to be? What can we do to any ideas or suggestions on how we can change that?
To your first question, I hope. And the second question, as far as what Congress can do, whatever can be done to help inform small business about the number of threats that are there and helping small business understand what steps they can do to protect themselves is the greatest thing that could be done right now.
Evaluating the risk here is really difficult, and I know Mr. Luft made a comment in his opening statement that 43% of the attacks are in small businesses. I think Mr. Luft made a comment a while ago with regards to a question I think one of our other folks made, and the comment was made with regards to covering things that may have happened in prior to the coverage being effective.
We want to very much thank the panel here for helping the committee to better understand an issue that more and more small businesses all across the country are facing, and that's the cyber risk that's out there, the attacks that they could be facing. We're committed as a committee to doing everything we can to assist the small business community to better protect themselves, whether it's best practices, whether it's potentially cybersecurity insurance, and you all have assisted us in doing that, so we thank you very much for that. I would ask unanimous consent that members have 5 legislative days to submit statements and supporting materials for the record. Without objection, so ordered. And if there's no further business to come before the committee, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.